Hello everybody, Dan Palumbo here again. How are you? I hope everybody is well. What are we going to do today? Well, we're going to talk about flight planning, performance, and weight and balance for the Gulfstream 4 SP. It's a lot of paperwork. So you're in class and your instructor hands you a packet of information and says, go figure all of this out. Come back with the answers. Well, how do you do that? That's a lot. You've got flight planning involved, you've got performance numbers you have to get, weight and balance. I'm going to show you how to do this quick and easy and in order. First thing I want to do is get familiar with the paperwork. So you're handed this packet and you've got three different sections. You've got Part A, Gulfstream 4 SP, en route flight planning. There's given information here. They're asking you to find the trip time, the fuel burn, and the initial cruise altitude. The next form that we have to complete is performance. We need to find time to climb, the time, the fuel required, and the distance for given information. Then we have to find maximum range cruise for a particular scenario. We want to find the Mach, the calibrated airspeed, and the fuel flow. Long range cruise, we want to find that for a given scenario. We want to find the Mach, the calibrated airspeed, and the fuel flow for that. Then we want a twin engine descent. We want to do a twin engine descent with some given information here. We want to find time, fuel, and distance for that descent. And then we're going to do a no flap landing distance. Now, this is a little complicated, but we're going to run through it a little later on, and you'll find that it's actually not as complicated as you might think. Next form is Part C. It's the Gulfstream 4 weight and balance form. We have all of this information here, and we're going to fill out all of this information. We're going to do it in order, and there's a particular way to do it. Another form to be familiar with that we're going to fill out is the aircraft loading form. This is how we're going to find out our percent MAC. So there's going to be a little math involved as well. So make sure you bring your calculator. All right, so let's start from the beginning. We're going to figure out the en route flight planning. Now to do that, we have to take a look at a few things. Aircraft zero fuel weight is 44,000 pounds. The trip length is 3,000 miles. The fuel reserve is 4,000 pounds. We're going to be cruising along at Mach 8.0. And standard temperature. What's standard temperature? It's ISA. And we have a 50 knot headwind. With all that information, we need to find the trip time, the fuel burn, and the initial cruise altitude. All right, so how do we do all this? You're going to take out your iPad. Let's bring the iPad over here. And you're going to go to the QRH. So we got a lot of information in PlaneBook. Open up PlaneBook. Open up the QRH. And inside the QRH, you're going to see G4 performance and non-SP performance. All right, G4 SP performance and non-SP G4 performance. We can ignore all of this down here. We're just going to be dealing with the G4 SP. Performance index, we've got takeoff planning. That's Papa Alpha, P for performance. Cruise planning, that's the first thing we're going to do, and that's Papa Bravo. And then there's landing planning, and that's Papa Charlie. So we're going to be doing cruise, correct? So let's go to cruise planning. And what are we looking for here? We have a whole lot of information. Well, we want to do the SP, the G4 SP twin engine flight planning Mach 8.0 at ISA, right? Mach 8.0 at ISA. Bring this back. We have Mach 7.7. We're not going to use that. There's our Mach 8.0. We want Papa Bravo 15. Now let's highlight that. Let's click that. That's going to bring us to this page. The best part about an iPad is you can blow all of this stuff up. How do you do this? What's involved? Well, there's given information. Let's get familiar, Let's get familiar with what is actually on this chart. We're going to actually come in here. We're going to start off here with the range. So we've got the range. Let's highlight this a little bit. So we have the range. We have 3,000 miles. This is all 1,000 nautical mile, 1,000, 2, 3, 4, 5, so forth. We have the time in hours. That's one of the things we want to find. And now we have the average winds, 150 knot tailwind, 100 knot tailwind, 50 knot tailwind, no wind, 50 knot headwind. This is the line we want. We have 100 knot headwind and 150 knot headwind. What do we want to start with? We want to take the 3,000 miles and we're going to come in through here, 3,000 miles all the way until it intersects that 50 knot headwind, which is right here. And if you follow this line all the way down, it looks like 7.6 hours. 7.2, 7.4, 7.6, 7.8, 8 hours. So 50 knot, let's take 3,000 all the way to 50 knots, 50 knot headwind, right here, bring it straight down, and it looks like our first answer and time is going to be 7.6 hours. So we're going to write in 7.6 hours. Trip time, 7.6 hours. Excellent. And now we want to find the fuel burn. Well, let's look at this again. With the fuel burn, we're going to use that same line or that same point at 50 knot headwind, and we're going to drive it all the way up to the reference line. So let's take a look at what's on this chart. There's a reference line. We have landing weight, including reserves. There's 42. Let's just blow this up a little bit. There's 42,000 pounds, 44, 46, 48, 50, and so forth. So that's a landing weight, including the reserves. On the left side here, we have trip fuel burn. So this is, per thousand, 20, 21, 22, 24,000 pounds. So that's going to be important in a moment. And we have initial flight levels. We can only get to 41,000 feet in this envelope here. We're only able to get to 43,000 in this envelope, and 45,000 we can do in this envelope. All right. Remember that line? You went 3,000 all the way over to 50 on the headwind, and you drove it down. You found the line of 7.6 hours. Well, now take that line and drive it all the way up, straight up to the reference line, right about here, right here. I'm going to bring this down a little bit just to make sure that we have our numbers the way that they're supposed to be. There's 7.6, right? Drive it straight up, all the way up to the reference line, which is right about here. Now notice these lines. These lines, you've got to stay parallel, all right? You don't go straight across, you stay in parallel. So we're going to take this line and we're going to go all the way up to one of these lines. What is it? It's the landing weight, including the reserves. Well, let's go back to our form. Zero fuel weight is 44,000 pounds, and we want to land with 4,000 pounds, correct? So that's a landing weight of what? 48,000 pounds. You're absolutely right. 48,000 pounds. So what we'll do is we'll drive this line all the way up to the reference line, and then we'll stay parallel to these lines until we find the 48,000 mark. Where's the 48,000 mark? Let's blow it up a little bit. Right here. So we take that we start at the 7.6. We already figured that out. Goes right through the 50 knot headwind, intersects that with the 3,000 pounds, straight up here to the reference line. And then we stay parallel with these lines all the way to the 48,000 pound mark. And the 48,000 pound mark is right about here. At this point, we can go horizontal to the left, and we will find out how much fuel we're going to burn. All the way over here, we've got 20, 21, 22. It looks like 21,000 pounds-ish. So that's going to complete the fuel burn. 21,000 pounds. And then the last thing it's asking for is our initial cruise altitude. Well, when we drove the line, 7.6 all the way up to the reference line, we stayed parallel all the way to the 48,000 pound mark. It put us in this box. You see this box right here? This box represents initial altitude of 41,000 feet. So our initial cruise altitude is flight level 410. And you completed that form. All right, so we're done with that. The next thing we're going to do is performance. When you do performance, you're going to use the airplane operating manual, and you're going to be using the QRH. Some of these things are found in the QRH. All of these things are found in the AOM. So the first thing it's asking is what? Time to climb. This is only going to be found in the airplane operating manual. So we need to take out the airplane operating manual, and we need to go to chapter 11. Why chapter 11? Well, I'm going to show you. Airplane operating manual. All right, that's the operating manual here. And we have all kinds of different chapters in here. We've got limitations, aircraft systems, obviously, a lot of good information in here. But we need to go at chapter 11, which is pre-flight planning and performance. So we're going to open up this, and there's a lot of stuff in here. So the first thing we're going to do is time to climb. The given information for the time to climb from sea level is from sea level to 43,000 feet, and we want ISA plus 10. Now, you're not able to find this information in the QRH, but you will find it in the airplane operating manual. So what are we looking for? Time to climb. Twin engine flight performance profiles. What does this say? Let's blow it up a little bit. Twin engine climb charts. So we want twin engine climb charts. We'll click that. And it starts with, there it says twin engine climb charts. And it gives you information, examples. And if you continue to go to the right, you'll see there's a twin engine climb. ISA minus 20, that's not it. ISA minus 10 at some given weights. ISA minus 10 for more given weights. There's ISA. And we're looking for what? ISA plus 10, correct? No, keep going. There's ISA again. There's ISA plus 10. So ISA plus 10, this is the chart that we want. We're going to go to what altitude? 43,000 feet, right? Let's try to blow this up a little bit. So we're going to be going to 43,000 feet. And we're going to start with a weight of 64,000 pounds. Here it is. This is the information we're looking for. There's our time, there's our fuel, there's our distance. 27.1 on time, 23.26 on fuel, and 186 for the distance. So all we're going to do is take that information from the chart and fill it in right here. What was the time? 27.1 minutes. What's the fuel? Well, let's just do this, make it a little easier for us. All right, 43. What's the fuel? It's going to be 23.26. So we're going to put the fuel required, 23.26. And the distance. How far are we going to travel? 64,000 pounds, 43,000 feet, 186 miles. So we're going to put 186 nautical miles right here. Excellent. Perfect. Okay, that's done. Next thing we're looking for is the maximum range. All right, maximum range cruise. Now we can look into QRH here, or we can go to the airplane operating manual. If you want to find it through the airplane operating manual, let's go back to the normal tab. Let's go back to chapter 11. And what are we looking to do? We are looking for maximum range cruise. So maximum range cruise. We go down here, it says twin engine cruise charts. I'll show it a little closer for you. Twin engine cruise charts, we will click that. And we will see maximum range cruise. We've got different weights. We've got altitudes, 45,000. This is at 76,000 in weights. This is 56,000 all the way to 38,000 in weights. And there's ISA. So you have that with the airplane operating manual. You can also go to the QRH. So let's go to the QRH. There's our QRH. Bring it back to the index, and we're still in cruise, right? So we're going to go to Papa Bravo. Papa Bravo, we've got twin engine maximum range cruise. So it's asking for maximum range cruise. There's only one thing you can click here, and that's ISA. So let's click it. There it is. So what's given? 43,000 feet is the flight level, 60,000 pounds, because let's say we used about 4,000 on the climb, and ISA. What do we got going on here? Come on. Come on. Maximum range cruise. There's ISA. We're at 43,000 feet, so we're here. 60,000 pounds. Let's find the numbers. There's 60,000 pounds. This is 43,000. This is all the information we want here. So the Mach is 0.775. The calibrated airspeed, 218, and the fuel flow is 2650. Now, the fuel flow is 2650, and that's total. So 2650 divided by 2, we're looking at about 1325 per side, per engine. And that's going to be the fuel flow. So there's our information. That's how we found it. And all we need to do is transcribe the information from here at 60,000 pounds at 43,000 feet onto our form. Let's do that. So what did we say the Mach was? 0.775. What did we say the airspeed was? 218. And what did we say the fuel flow was? Let's look at it again. 60,000, 43,000 feet, 2,650. So 2,650 total fuel flow, and we're done with that. The next thing we have is long range cruise. All right, LRC, long range cruise. That's also in the airplane operating manual. So let's go find that in the airplane operating manual. Let's get out of this stuff. Pull up the operating manual, find the tabs, chapter 11, and we are looking for what? Twin engine cruise charts, right? So we're still here, twin engine cruise charts. Let's push this stuff over. And there's maximum range cruise, right? Maximum range cruise. And if you continue on, here's long range cruise. Long range cruise at ISA. What are we looking for? 43,000 pounds, 43,000 flight level, 60,000 pounds at ISA. Where's our information? It's right here. What's the next page tell us? Next page is long range cruise as well, but at different weights. You see those weights up here? So what's our weight? 60,000 pounds. We're right here. 43,000 feet. Long range cruise. This is the information we're looking for. Right there. Mach 0.79. Calibrated airspeed 223. And the fuel flow is 2730 total. What do we do with this information? We lift it off of here and we transcribe it onto our form. Mach, what did we say was 0.79. Calibrated airspeed was 223. And the fuel flow, we said, was 2730. Done. We're done with long range cruise. Okay, so that's how you find it in the AOM. Let's find it in the QRH. Let's get out of all of this. Bring up the QRH. Cruise planning. And what are we looking for? Long range cruise. Right, there it is. Only one page for this. Papa Bravo 6. Highlight it or click it. Here's our form. What do we got? G4SP long range cruise at ISA. Long range cruise at ISA. We're looking for 60,000 pounds at 43,000 feet. So there's 43,000 feet here, 60,000 pounds here. And guess what? It's the same information you got from the airplane operating manual. So you can either get it through the QRH or the airplane operating manual. Now, the next thing we're going to do is the twin engine descent. The twin engine descent you can only get from the airplane operating manual. Again, chapter 11. What's given? 43,000 feet, 60,000 pounds, ISA. What's the time to take to descend? What's going to be the fuel and the distance? So let's go to the operating manual. Get out of this. Get out of that. We'll go back into the airplane operating manual. And we're looking for what? Twin engine descent charts. There it is. Right in front of our face. It's going to start on page 138. So just click that. There we are. This isn't good information. Nothing for you right now. There's some examples. Keep going. And what are we looking for? We're looking for what's the given? 43,000 feet, 60,000 pounds at ISA again. Well, this is minus 20. You see that minus 20 there. The next page is minus 20, different weights. Minus 10 at higher weights. Minus 10 at lower weights. Oh, here's ISA, right? 60,000 pounds or 43,000 feet. Here's our answers. Find the block of information you want. It's right here, 17.6, 306, and 107. So let's transcribe all of that information. So what's the time? The time is going to be 17.6. The fuel is going to be 306 because we're pretty much at idle there. And the distance is going to be 107 miles. All right, so let's just match this up again. The proper chart that we want is twin engine descent, and it's assuming you're at Mach 7.5. And then transition is going to be 250 to 300. At ISA, 43,000 feet is the altitude we're descending from. We're at 60,000 pounds. And what information do we want? Everything in this block. The time, 17.6 minutes. The fuel, 306 pounds. And the distance, 107 miles. All done. The last thing here is the no-flap landing distance. So we're going to figure this out. But before we do that, I need to introduce you to two charts. we need to go to Papa Charlie 1 and Papa Charlie 16 in the QRH. And we want to go to landing planning. You're going to go to landing planning. I said we need to use, it says Papa Charlie 1 and Papa Charlie 1. This is landing field length with anti-skid operative, flaps 39. Let's look at this chart first. This is very simple. We take the landing gross weight and we match it up to sea level. In this case, we're at 60,000 pounds at sea level, and we come up with what number? There's sea level, 60,000 pounds. The part 135, otherwise known as the factored landing distance number, is 5,030 feet. All right, so 5,030 feet, and we'll just make a note of that right here. So we have that basic number. That's what we're going to start with. Then we need to go to Papa Charlie 16 because we need to do no flap. If you take a look at this chart, G4 landing field length, anti-skid system operative, flaps 39. What are the parameters of this? It's an ice a day, normal landing configuration. Normal landing configuration is geared down in full flaps, right? Well, what is this asking for? This is asking for no flaps, no flap landing distance. So to get that, the first thing you need to do is figure out what it would be under normal circumstances. And again, it's sea level at 60,000 pounds. We come up with 5,030 feet, and that is the Part 135 factored distance. Now, if you wanted to do this on a Part 135 with a wet runway, you would need to multiply this 5,030 by 1.15. If you wanted to do the Part 91 unfactored distance, you'll take this number and multiply that by 60%. Okay, so all we're doing now is we want to find the no flap. We have our number, 5,030 feet, and the next chart we need to go to is Papa Charlie 16. Let's go to the index, Papa Charlie 16, and that is the G4 abnormal landing field length table. Click it. A lot of stuff in here. Let's introduce you to this chart. Reference landing field length. This is what we came up with originally. So we're going to start here. We said 5,030. For this portion, we'll just use 5,000 to make it simple. And then we have flaps 39, 39, 20, 10, and 0. Anti-skid, operative, inoperative, operative, operative, operative. Speed brakes, manual, auto, and so on. So remember, this is the abnormal field length table. So what are we looking for? We're looking for 0 flaps. 5,000. Bring it all the way over to the right, and what does that give us? 5,710 feet. Do you see that? If we take a ruler, we line this up, 0 flap is 5,710 feet. So 5,710 feet is the factored 135 number. So what we'll do is we'll write that number right here, 5,710 feet. And that's for Part 135, for you folks that are flying charter and that stuff. What's the 91 number? Remember what I said earlier. You need to take the factored number and multiply it by 60%, correct? So here's where your calculator is going to come into play. What's that factored number? 5,000 is what we originally came up with for normal, but we need to do flaps at 0 flaps. All right, so 0 flaps, 5,710 feet. 5,710 feet times 60%, 3,426. So we will write 3,426 feet. So all you have to do is take that factored number and multiply it by times 60%. Now we're going to be doing Part 135 dry and wet and 91 stuff a little later on. But for now, that's how you're going to figure out the no flap landing distance and complete this performance form. All right? So we're done with performance. Now we move on to the weight and balance. What's given here? We have a basic empty weight of 43,750 pounds. We have 5 passengers. The 5 passengers are all 200 pounds each, and they're in seats 5, 6, 7, 8, and 14. 5 passengers times 200 each, that's 1,000 pounds. We're going to put 250 pounds worth of bags onto the airplane. We're going to start with ramp fuel of 15,400, but we're going to use 400 pounds in taxi. So our actual takeoff fuel is going to be 15,000 pounds. And our landing fuel is 4,000 pounds. Takeoff and landing field elevation is going to be sea level. QNH is going to be 2992. Temperature is going to be plus 25. That's Celsius. That's plus 10 ISA, right? At sea level, what's ISA at sea level? 15, correct? If the temperature is 25, it means you have an ISA of plus 10. So what do we need to find? We need to find zero fuel weight, center of gravity, takeoff trim, takeoff weight, takeoff runway distance, takeoff EPR, V speeds, landing weight, ref, blah, blah, blah. We need to fill out all of this information. Well, let's make it simple and easy. Let's number this. I want you to go to zero fuel weight and put a number 1. That's the first thing we're going to figure out. The second thing we're going to figure out is the takeoff weight. The third thing we're going to figure out is the landing weight. The fourth thing we're going to figure out is the takeoff runway distance required, the EPR, and all of these V speeds. The fifth thing we're going to figure out is going to be the landing ref speed. The sixth thing we're going to figure out is the landing distance required. We just did all of this, didn't we? All right, all of that's been done. You know how to do this already, but we're going to go over it again. The seventh thing we're going to find is the CG, and to do that, step 7 is going to involve the aircraft loading form. The eighth thing we're going to figure out is the takeoff trim. So let's start doing some of this, and it's basic math. We're going to get rid of 1, 2, 3 right away. So first thing is the zero fuel weight. What is the zero fuel weight? If the basic operating weight is 43,750 pounds, get out your calculator here. I mean, we can add it up if you want to, but I'm lazy. So we're going to get out the calculator, and we're going to put 43,750 for the basic empty weight. And then we have 5 passengers, all at 200 pounds each. That's 1,000 pounds. So we're going to add 1,000 pounds to that. We have 44,750. And then we have bags. The bags are 250 pounds, so we're going to add 250 pounds, and it comes up to a convenient zero fuel weight of 45,000 pounds. So, zero fuel weight, 45,000 pounds. So that's the first thing we're going to figure out. The second thing we're going to figure out is our takeoff weight. If our zero fuel weight is 45,000 pounds, we put 15,500 pounds worth of fuel on the plane, but we use 400 pounds to taxi out. Our takeoff fuel weight is 15,000 pounds. So 15,000 plus 45,000, yeah, that's right. Our takeoff weight is going to be 60,000 pounds. The third thing we're going to figure out that we can do right away is our landing weight. Our landing weight is easy. All we have to do is take the zero fuel weight of 45,000 pounds, and it's given up here that the landing fuel is going to be 4,000 pounds. So we take 45,000 plus 4,000, and we come up with a landing weight of 49,000 pounds. Simple. Now, for number 4, the takeoff runway distance, the EPR, and all of the V speeds, that's pretty simple. We need to go to our QRH, and we need to go to the takeoff performance. All right, so we go to the QRH. Takeoff planning. We're going to go to Papa Alpha 6 today. So there's takeoff planning charts. Let's just start off with Papa Alpha 5. And let's see what that shows us. All right, so takeoff planning, flaps 20, all right, airport elevation at sea level. And these are what? This is all weights. This is all temperature. All right, that's not the page that we want. Our takeoff weight is what? We said 60,000 pounds, correct? Well, this goes from 74.6, the maximum, to 62,000. So it's not this chart we want. Let's go to the next chart. This is the chart we want. 20 degrees of flaps, sea level, and we're looking for 60,000 pounds, correct? It's the top one. What did we say the temperature, outside air temperature was in centigrade? 25 degrees, correct? So if we match 25 degrees with 60,000, we look down, first thing we find is our EPR, 1.7. Then we see field length, 3710. That's how long of a runway, that's how much distance we need for takeoff. V1 speed is what? 119. VR speed, rotation speed, 127. V2 speed, 135. And over here is the VFS speed, 155. VSE, single engine, 162. And our ref, 142. That's all of our numbers. That's everything that we need. So let's fill it in. Takeoff runway distance required. What did we say? 3710, right? Takeoff EPR. What was that EPR again? Well, let's go back to the chart. 60,000 pounds, 25 degrees right here. There's the EPR. 1.7. You see that? 1.7. And it's rated 1.7. So let's fill that in. 1.7. And these V speeds, V1, VR, V2, VFS, VSE, VREF, we just went over all of those. We know where to find that. Let's look at it. So what do we got? We got 119. V1 is 119. VR is 127. V2, 135. And on the left side over here, on the left side, we have the other numbers. VFS, 155. VSE, 161. And VREF, 142. All right. All that's done. Simple and easy. What's the fifth thing we need to do? Well, the fifth thing we need to do is the landing ref. And where do we find that? Well, yeah, absolutely. You can go back to the QRH. And now you go to landing planning, Papa Charlie. And you want to go to Papa Charlie 3. Well, we're going to start off with Papa Charlie 2. This is the G4 landing speed schedule. Click it. What do we have? We have a bunch of speeds here. We've got normal, abnormal at 20 degrees, abnormal, 10 degrees, abnormal, flaps up. And it gives us our approach speed and it gives us our ref with the altitude. It also gives you a shaker and a pusher number. That's kind of cute. But you see where the weight says 45,000 pounds? All right, 45,000 pounds, that's not the weight we want. So let's go to the next page. Our landing weight is what? Our landing weight is 49,000 pounds. Let's up that a little bit. Let's be a little conservative. Let's say it's 50,000 pounds. It makes it even simpler for us. So find the chart, the landing speed schedule chart of 50,000 pounds. There it is. All right? And we're going to be using normal 39-degree flaps. What's our ref speed? 130. Simple. Number 5 is done. Now number 6. Number 6 is the landing distance required. So first thing we want to find out is the 135 number. So it's a little backwards. What I want you to do with number 6 is I want you to put the letter A here, all right, the letter B here, and the letter C here. So we're going to go A, B, and C. The chart we're going to use is landing planning, PC1, landing field length. We were already here. So PC1 shows us this. Again, we got sea level, 2004, 6, and so forth, and we have landing gross weight. What's our gross weight this time? In this scenario, 50,000 pounds. Sea level. So what is our factored landing distance? What is our part 135 number? 50,000 at sea level, 4570. So that is our factored 135 number. Let's write it down there, 4570. So that's what we're going to start with. Under part 135, where you have to multiply this number by 1.15. You have to times it by 1.15. So let's take 4570 and multiply it by 1.15, and that gives us 5255. Let's do it up here so you can see. 4570 times 1.15, 5255. 5255. And what did we say our 91 number? How do we get our part 91 number? We take the factored number and we multiply that factored number by 60%. And that gives us an unfactored number. So let's do that math. Again, I'm lazy, so I'm going to use a calculator. 4570 times 60%, 2742. You see that? So it's going to take, in this scenario, it's going to take 2,742 feet to get our airplane down and stopped. All right, so that's number 6. We did A and B, and then the last one was C. Now we need to go to number 7. All right, here's where it gets really fun. So we need to find the percent Mach. How do we do that? We're going to have to use the aircraft loading form. And there's a lot of given information in here. All right, so this has all been done for you. We have an empty weight, and then we add all the goodies in there, the crew, the cockpit storage, the galley, and all that other good stuff. And we end up with a basic operating weight of 43,750 with a total moment of 20,104,013. All right, so the only thing you really need to remember when you're doing weight and balance is weight times the arm equals the moment. And then weight divided by the moment equals this CG, if I can spell properly. So how are we going to figure this out? 5 passengers, 200 pounds each, in seats 5, 6, 7, 8, and 14. Okay. So we have 5 passengers, 200 pounds each. 200 pounds in what? Seat number 5. We'll write 200 here. 200 pounds in seat number 6. 200 pounds in seat number 7, 200 pounds in seat number 8, and the unsociable one in seat 14, sitting way back there by his or herself, 200 pounds all the way in the back. So what's basic math? What do? We take, in seat number 5, we take 200 times 331 is the arm. Remember, weight times the arm equals the moment. Basic math, get out your calculator. 200 times 331 gives us a moment of 66,200. Seat 6, 200 pounds times 331, same, 66,200. Well, in seat 7, it's going to change a little bit. 200 pounds times 381, that's the arm. 200 pounds times 381, and that gives us 76,200. Seat number 8, 200 pounds, same arm, 381. So that gives us 76,200 here. Person all the way in the back, 200 pounds, with an arm of 477, gives us a moment of 95,400 pounds. And then we have bags. How much did we say was the bags? If we bring this back, we've got 250 pounds worth of baggage, correct? So 250 pounds worth of baggage, we will put here, 250 pounds of bags. Let's do some math. 250 times 637 gives us a moment of 159,250. So let's add everything up. Let's start with the weight. We've got 43,750 basic operating weight. 43,750. We add 200, 200, 200, 200, 200 here. So that's 1,000 in the passengers, 250 in bags. And as we saw earlier, the zero fuel weight is 45,000 pounds. The next thing we want to do is add up all of the moment. This is given to us. So in our calculator, we're going to enter 20,104,013. So let's bring the calculator over here. We've got 20,104,013 as a given number. Now we need to add all of these moments. Plus 66,200, plus 66,200, plus 76,200, plus 76,200, plus 95,400, plus, and then we have 159,250. When we're done with that, it gives us a grand total. So let's write that in here. 20,643,463. All right. So we're going to divide the moment by the weight here. How do we do that? Very simple. let's take out the calculator again, if you guys can see this. So in the calculator, I'm going to put 20,643,463 divided by 45,000, and we come up with arm of 458.74. Okay. So 458.74. That doesn't sound like a CG we're familiar with, does it? No. So I'm going to introduce you to another form. And this form will be given to you in your packet. And it's the aircraft CG horizontal arm versus percent Mac. On this side is the whole number, and on the top is the fraction number. So what did we say it was? We said number is 458.74. If we round it off, it's 458.7. So we're going to go find 458 right here. And now we want to find the 0.7 right here. And just as we did with almost everything else today, we kind of matched this line with this line, and we came up with a percent Mac of 42.7. So we're going to write that in, 42.7. Great. So that's how you figure it out if you have this chart. If you don't have this chart, there's a mathematical formula that you can use, and that formula is right here. And it's the center of gravity, all right, minus the percent Mac. So the center of gravity, the horizontal arm, is 458.74. Let's pull this up here. 458.74, that's the horizontal arm, minus 387.7. 387.7 equals 71.04 divided by 1.6622. Divided by 1.6622. Look at that. 42.7. The same number here, which is what we put here. All right, there's your CG. The last thing we need to do is number 8, and number 8 is the takeoff trim. So the takeoff trim, and we have 42.7. We need to go back to the QRH, and this time we're going to go to November Charlie 5. Well, let's take a look at this. This is in the white pages. So we want to go to November Charlie 5, right? It says engine starting. It just happens to be here, engine starting. And we go to November Charlie 5, and November Charlie 5 says recommended elevator trim setting for takeoff. So highlight that. And this is our elevator trim position unit. We take the 0 fuel center of gravity. So 42.7, let's round it off and call it 43, okay? There's 43. Run this up. How much fuel are we putting on board? We have 15,000 pounds, right? So our takeoff fuel from before is 15,000 pounds, and our trim unit needs to be set to 4 units. What exactly is 4 units? Why do we set 4 units? Well, if you have an engine failure, the airplane is going to, if you set 4 units and you have an engine failure, the airplane is already trimmed for V2 speed. And that's why, if you don't have an engine failure, you always have to retrim the airplane after takeoff if you're manually flying the airplane. But this trim unit here, it gives you a value so that, God forbid you have an engine failure, if you let go of the yoke, it's going to be already in trim for V2 speed. And that, my friends, is it. You've completed your weight and balance, you've completed your performance, and you've completed your flight planning. You guys get an A+. Happy flying. Okay, folks, here's the part where I tell you to subscribe again and like. I always forget during the videos because I'm so busy putting your videos together. Anyway, while you're liking and subscribing and telling your friends and all that other stuff, here's some of the charts and the graphs and the tables that we used as we put together our weight and balance, our flight planning, and our performance. I appreciate you folks tuning in. You have a great day.